Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll begin with the prayers. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
All right. Shall I read the first verse?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, verse 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam Atrir Bhagavan Akshat Svaramanam Vihayasa Amuktam Eva Pakandam Yodharme Dharma Vibrama. Translation. When King Indra was taking away the horse, he dressed himself to appear as a liberated person. Actually, this dress was a form of cheating, for it falsely created an impression of religion. When Indra went into outer space in this way, the great sage Atri saw him and understood the whole situation. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The word pakanda used in this verse is sometimes pronounced prashanda. Both of these words indicate an impostor who presents himself as a very religious person, but in actuality is sinful. Indra took up the saffron-colored dress as a way of cheating others. This saffron dress has been misused by many impostors who present themselves as liberated persons or incarnations of God. In this way, people are cheated. As we have mentioned many times, the conditioned soul has a tendency to cheat. Therefore, this quality is also visible in a person like King Indra. It is understood that even King Indra is not liberated from the clutches of material contamination. Thus, the words amuktam eva, meaning as if he were liberated, are used. The saffron dress worn by a sannyasi announces to the world that he has renounced all worldly affairs and is simply engaged in the service of the Lord. Such a devotee is actually a sannyasi or liberated person. In Bhagavad Gita 6:1 it is said, Anastrita kamarapalam karyam karma koroti ya sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. In other words, one who offers the results of his activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually a sannyasi and yogi. Cheating sannyasis and yogis have existed since the time of Prithu Maharaja's sacrifice. This cheating was very foolishly introduced by King Indra. In some ages, such cheating is very prominent, in other ages, not so prominent. It is the duty of a sannyasi to be very cautious because, as stated by Lord Chaitanya, Sannyasira alpachitra sarvaloke gaya. A little spot in a sannyasi's character will be magnified by the public. CC Majja 1251. Therefore, unless one is very sincere and serious, he should not take up the order of sannyas. One should not use this order as a means to cheat the public. It is better not to take up sannyas in this age of Kali, because provocations are very strong in this age. Only a very exalted person advanced in spiritual understanding should attempt to take up sannyas. One should not adopt this order as a means of livelihood or for some material purpose. So, very interesting verse, this one. This is the beginning of the cheating sannyasis, uh, or pseudo spiritualists who come in the dresses of sannyasi. Um, and Srila Prabhupada goes into this quite in a lot of detail. Saffron colored dress. We see many of these types of characters who claim to be Bhagavan. They wear a sannyas dress, and they sometimes do some magic here and there to impress people, to make them think that they're the Lord. But as we've seen, these people are actually cheaters. A lot of them have been caught out in various very unsavory activities and exposed. So that actually proves what Prabhupada is saying here, that these cheating sannyasis, they're not liberated souls, they're not advanced in spiritual life. They're just wearing a dress and announcing to the world that they're God Himself, or they're very advanced or very renounced. But actually, a sannyasi is a truly liberated person. And so this verse is quoted. It's a very important verse, this one. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and works as he is obligated is actually in the renounced order of life, and a true mystic, not the one who lights no fire and performs no work. So we were talking about this other day, that we should be performing our duty in devotional service. Whatever duty that's been assigned to us by the Lord, we should perform that duty, and at the same time be unattached to the fruits of that. And so we should perform our service, but not be attached to the result. I've read many times where Srila Prabhupada says in letters and in lectures also, that we, success or no success, the, the Lord sees your effort. He sees that you're making an effort to serve Him. And that's the main point. Prabhupada made many attempts, many times, to do many things, and most of it was successful. Some of it was not successful. For instance, the League of Devotees that he formed was not successful. But as you could see, he was not attached to the result of that. He just understood that the Lord was saying to him, or his spiritual master was indicating, that that was not the right way to go. And he just accepted that and carried on. He never gave up his duty. He never abandoned the instruction of his spiritual master. He just continued. And as we know, he left India and made a very difficult journey to the West. And even when he got to the West, had a very tough time in the middle of winter. A very small amount of money, just some books and a bag of cereal and about $5 or something, and no friends. He didn't know anybody practically, although he stayed, of course, with the Argowals. But after he left there, he didn't have any friends. He didn't know anybody. He was just, as he said, loitering in the street. So he didn't even have a place to stay. But he knew that the Lord had something in mind, so he never gave up on his duty to spread Krishna consciousness, and he wasn't attached to the results of his work. So that shows you that actually he was in the renounced order of life, and he was never faltering in his determination to publish books and, for instance, back to Godhead, and he never gave up. He just continued with his with following that instruction by his spiritual master, and so that these cheating sannyasis and yogis, we can see them all the time. You know, they're being exposed, and they have been exposed over the years. And King Indra started that at this time when Prieta Maharaj had this sacrifice. So not only did King Indra uh, take up this cheating mentality, one of the four faults that we have, but he also started this cheating, this sannyasi, cheating sannyasi thing, and introduced it, and it continues to this day, especially in Kali Yuga. It's very prominent. Uh, Prabhupada mentions that in some ages it's not so prominent, and in other ages it is very prominent, and we can see that in this Kali Yuga, even in the time that we've been devotees. Um, you know, we can see so many of these people that come from India or other places, and they present themselves as being Bhagavan. They present themselves as being God Himself, and they say that you can also become God. So that's madness. You know, it's complete insanity, as we know, because there's only one God, and He's always God. And so we can't. We're little controllers. You know, we're controllers, but very small scale. The Lord is the ultimate supreme controller, and we're very tiny controllers. So we have these propensities that the Lord has. We have these qualities, but in a very, very minute amount. And because we have them in a very, very small amount, by the influence of the material energy and false ego, we think that actually I can control. You know, if I have some power, I have some yogic, mystic power, I must be God. Or even worse, they know they're not God, but they have this cheating mentality that they present themselves as God so they can make a livelihood, as Prabhupada mentions here. They make lots of money. There's been many of these characters that come and they make a lot of money. So it's advised actually that sannyas should not be taken in this Kali Yuga. But as we saw, Prabhupada actually he gave sannyas to many devotees, and for the purpose of spreading the movement and giving, um, because sannyasis are recognized in India as the highest order. You know, everyone respects a sannyasi. So he was introducing sannyas for preaching purposes, and but as we saw, many of them fell down from sannyas. So he actually stopped giving sannyas. I was reading the other day also that he stopped giving marriage to devotees also. So he had to stop at some stage because he knew that, you know, in this age of Kali, there's so many influences and these provocations are very strong. So a sannyasi can easily fall down from his position in the renounced order. But as we've seen with the sannyasis who continue preaching, they travel around the world all the time and they preach all the time, or they remain engaged in some kind of preaching. They survive, you know, they don't fall down. They're still strong devotees and they continue to be strong. So it's getting quite interesting now, this pastime. And Prabhupada is very nicely explaining all these details in the purports. I think that's all I can say about this, unless someone else wants to say something.
No, nothing more from my side, Prabhu. I think you covered everything.
Okay, do you want to read the next verse? Or
Sure.
maybe Rohini Mataji?
Rohini Mataji is making garlands for Govardhan
Oh,
Puja.
okay, she's just listening. Okay.
Yeah. I don't see Ruchi Mataji. I don't think Ruchi Mataji is here today.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Primarasa
Okay.
is not here. So, text 13. Atrina chodito hantum prithu putro maharatha anvadhavata sankrudhas tithasthi chabravit. Translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the son of King Prithu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait." Purport. The word Tishtha Tishtha are used by a Kshatriya when he challenges his enemy. When fighting, a Kshatriya cannot flee from the battle. However, when a Kshatriya, out of cowardice, flees from the battle, showing his back to his enemy, he's challenged with the words Tishtha Tishtha. A real Kshatriya does not kill his enemy from behind, nor does a real Kshatriya turn his back on the battlefield. According to Kshatriya principle and spirit, one either attains victory or dies on the battlefield. Although King Indra was very exalted, being the king of heaven, he became degraded due to his stealing the horse intended for sacrifice. Therefore, he fled without observing the Kshatriya principles, and the son of Prithu had to challenge him with the words, Tishtha, Tishtha. So, in the previous paragraph, in the previous verse, we read that King Indra stole the horse by dressing himself as a sannyasi. And Atri witnessed the situation. Atri Muni, he's one of the great sages. He informed the son of Prithu Maharaj. And Kshatriyas have this quality that they wish to take action. That's the role of a Kshatriya. They make sure that all the four orders are following what they are supposed to do. Like, for example, the Brahmanas are supposed to follow 6 activities. Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan, Dana, Pratigraha. So they must teach, they must perform yagyas, and they must give in charity and accept charity, and vice versa, like that. So here, if somebody does not follow their dharma, then the Kshatriya, because he's the ruler, he can punish. It's actually the role. It's like police. The police can punish somebody who does not follow the law and order in the state. So similarly, Kshatriyas can punish, and the Brahmanas, they usually don't get involved in punishing people. They forgive people. But the role of a Kshatriya is to make sure that there is law and order in the state. So immediately, when the son of Prithu Maharaj was informed of Indra's trick, he became very angry, and that's the role of a Kshatriya. They want to take action, and he followed Indra, and he was chasing him by saying, "Wait, wait." So this word Tishta means wait, wait. So he and Kshatriyas actually also follow their codes of conduct. A Kshatriya does not kill anybody from behind. A Kshatriya does not um, kill an enemy who is without weapons. So he was following the proper conduct. He didn't kill him from behind. He said, wait, he as a true Kshatriya, they either in a battle, either they attain victory or they die. They never go home after they are defeated. They just give up their life fighting with the enemy. So that's one of the Kshatriya codes. So Prithu Maharaj's son, because he was a true Kshatriya, he asked him, like, wait. You know. So that's the summary of this verse. So Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse?
Yeah, I was going to say that it's really interesting how these pastimes unfold. That King Prieta became very angry because that's part of the pastime, and he wanted to kill him because he understood that he was trying to steal the horse, also that he was in the guise of a spiritual exalted person. And as you mentioned, of course, because he's in the guise of an advanced person, he wasn't following any principles, in this case Kshatriya principles, so he just fled. And if you're a Kshatriya, you don't do that. You never flee. You always face the enemy and die or kill the enemy. So it's just interesting how the details of these pastimes that, because King Indra was falsely presenting himself, he acted in that way also. He didn't follow any kind of principles. So I thought that was quite interesting. Okay, so we can move on to the next verse. Verse 14. Tam tadrikshatritim vikshya mene dharmam sariranam tatilam basmanachanam tasmai banam namun jati. Translation. King Indra was fraudulently dressed as a sannyasi, having knotted his hair on his head and smeared ashes all over his body. Upon seeing such dress, the son of King Pritu considered Indra a religious man and pious sannyasi. Therefore, he did not release his arrows. So this is also really interesting, because, King Indra, in the guise of a sannyasi, fled. So because, even though it was talked about the Kshatriya code, he's actually dressed as a sannyasi. So that's the ashram sannyasi, and the varna would be, whether he's Vaishya, Sudra, Kshatriya. So it's an interesting intertwining of varna and ashram here, that Prabhupada is talking about Kshatriya, and but we're actually dealing with a sannyasi. So because Indra, he was dressed as a sannyasi, even though King Prieta knew that he was falsely dressed, still he did not release his arrows because he is actually a Kshatriya. Yes. All right, let's move on. I guess I can read the next one also.
Sure, Prabhu.
Unless you wanted to comment about that.
No, I'm good now.
Okay, so verse 15. Radhan nivritam tam buyo hantave tririr achodayat jahi jagna hanam tata Mahendram Vibhudada Mamam. Translation: When Atri Muni saw that the son of King Prithu did not kill Indra, but returned deceived by him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king, because he thought that Indra had become the lowliest of all demigods due to his impending execution of King Prithu's sacrifice. So it seems that King Prieta was actually convinced that he was a saintly person. And that's also interesting, because even though he was told by Atri Muni that he wasn't, that he was just a pretender, King Prieta still thought he was a saintly person and a sannyasi. So he didn't kill him, but returned, and Atri Muni had to instruct him, actually, which is interesting also, that he should kill him. But this is all part of the pastime, so it's really it's very intriguing and very, very interesting how the Lord actually arranges all these different aspects of the pastimes. All right, let's see. We'll move on to the next. We got quite a bit of time. So text 16. Hang on 1 second.
Trevor, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Evam Vainya Sutta Proktas Tvaramanam Vihayasa Anvadravad Abhikrudho Ravanam Gridra Radiva. Translation: Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra, who was fleeing through the sky in great haste. He was very angry with them, and he chased him, just as the king of the vultures chased Ravana. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. Obviously, Prithu Maharaj realized that he was being deceived and chased him, very angry. And the comparison to the vultures chasing Ravana is also interesting. Okay, the next verse, 17. So svam rupam chatad ditva tasma antarhita svarat virasva pasum adaya pitur yagnam upayivan. Translation: When Indra saw that the son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. Indeed, he disappeared from that very spot, and the great hero, the son of Maharaj Prithu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. Actually, I think it was Ruchi Mataji that was mentioning this the other day, or someone was mentioning about the horse that it got returned. But the point is that even though the horse was returned to the sacrifice, still this pastime had to go on. That King Indra actually realizes that he made a mistake, and he disappears. So he left the horse behind and just disappeared. So he understood that he'd made a mistake, and he shouldn't have taken the horse. But under the influences of envy and fear, he went ahead and did that. So it just this had to happen this way, that Indra became envious of Prithu Maharaj, and he took that action, went to that extent, because that's a very, very big reaction for trying to spoil an Ashvamedha Jagya like that, especially when it's Prithu Maharaj, who's an empowered uh, living entity. Well, Prabhupada says an incarnation of Krishna. So very, very, very exalted personality. That he even becomes envious of him and then goes to that extent and steals the horse. You know, and but that was all meant to happen that way because he started this the false guru, sannyasi, spiritual leader, um, sort of pastime, I guess you could say. That he started all that, and it continues now. So that was all meant to happen that way because it's the age of Kali, and these things are predicted in the Kali Yuga. But it's just very interesting how that all comes into a pastime like that. That these types of qualities in the age of Kali are established through these pastimes. All right, text 18. Tatasya chadbhutam karma vichakshya paramarshaya namadeyam tadus tasmai vijitasva iti prabho. Translation: My dear Lord Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful prowess of the son of King Pritu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijitasva. So, just quickly mentioning here that this name that was given by the great sages means he who has won the horse. So that's indicating that King Pritu chased down King Indra and got the horse. He won the horse back. All right, text 19, verse 19. Upashrija tamas tivram jaharasvam punarhari kasala yupatas chano hiranya rasanam vidu. Translation: My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven and very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon the sacrificial arena. Covering the whole scene in this way, he again took away the horse, which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where animals were sacrificed. So here we see the determination of the envy of Lord of King Indra. Um, he continues. He doesn't give up, even though he was chased down by Prithu Maharaj and the horse was returned. He continued and would not give up due to ego and out of envy and fear. So all these things were driving him because he was very fearful that his position he'd be replaced. So he continues to do this. He brings this dense darkness around the arena and covering the whole sky in that way. He covered the whole sky in this dense darkness, so he could steal another horse. Well, actually, the same horse. So he again took the horse, which, if you think about that, it's quite incredible that anyone, especially someone like King Indra, would continue with this, but he continues with this. Text 20. Atri sandarshayam asa tvaramanam viyayasa kapala katvangadharam viro nainam abahata. Translation: The great sage Atri again pointed out to the son of King Prithu that Indra was fleeing through the sky. The great hero, the son of Prithu, chased him again, but when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull at the top, and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. Verse 21. Atrina koditas tasmai sandate vishika kamrusa susvam rupam cha taditva tastav antarhita svarat. Translation. When the great sage Atri again gave directions, the son of King Prithu became very angry and placed an arrow on his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned the false dress of a sannyasi and, giving up the horse, made himself invisible. So as we can see, the second time this happens, again he abandons the horse and, well, he abandons his dress and gives up the horse again and makes himself invisible. So completely defeated on all levels.
Prabhu, maybe we could stop here for today because I have to leave at this point.
Okay,
But also,
sure.
I wanted to make a comment. So, like, we can save a few minutes for that. Actually, something that was interesting that was coming across to me through this pastime is that actually Indra was at fault in a true sense, because he's just interrupting the sacrifice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And he's even caught by Atri. And Atri is actually pointing out to the son of King Prithu. The son of King Prithu is like, giving him benefit of doubt by seeing his dress again and again. But Atri is the one who is pointing out, like, that Prithu, like Indra is actually dressed as a sannyasi and he's stealing the horse. So, and we know towards the end of the pastime, actually, although Indra did this heinous act, still he doesn't get killed. He is actually like advised that they can stop with 99 sacrifices instead of 100. And something that was coming to my mind is that it's sometimes we see that somebody is making a mistake. Sometimes we can even point to that, that this person is making a mistake. But it's not necessary that somebody gets punished immediately for what they have done. um, and one of the things for me to take away is not to get disturbed when I see this happen again and again. Like, people make mistakes, and it's not necessary that they have to get a reaction immediately for what they have done. Sometimes we just accept it that the Lord is protecting them, and it's the will of providence that that they get to move on. So that was what was
Yeah,
coming.
good point. Yeah. Well, and in Indra's case, he didn't have to be killed. He just gave up anyway, and made himself invisible. So he figured that he's he tried the second time and it didn't work. So, but yeah, that's a good point. That we don't we don't necessarily get the reaction straight away, or we get punished. We don't necessarily get punished straight away. Sometimes Krishna allows us to actually learn from our own mistake, and sometimes we make the mistake again. But I've observed myself in spiritual life that we've seen devotees who they make big mistakes, and the Lord allows them to make these mistakes a few times, and then just completely exposes them. Um, I won't mention any names or any situations, but I just noticed that myself, that sometimes the Lord allows it to go on and gives that devotee a chance to rectify themselves, and that can come through either being instructed by someone, or somehow or other he's allowing them to become rectified, and if they don't, then he will come down on them like a ton of bricks sometimes. So yeah, as you say, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be punished or we have to bear the reaction straight away, and that the Lord allows us to correct ourselves. But at the same time, of course, mistakes should be pointed out, because we're in our consciousness, we're thinking that we need to maintain a high standard, especially in deity worship. And if someone's making a mistake, we want to make sure that the deities don't suffer from that. So we'll point it out to the person or the devotee that they need to correct what they're doing for the sake of the deities, not in any sort of a material way of lording it over the person, or thinking ourselves higher than them somehow, but with the motivation that we're protecting the deities' standards.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you so
Good
much.
point. Yes, thank you. All right, I guess we'll.
Yeah. Is it
continue.
okay? We end here.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam
Jai.
ki jai, Hare
Jai.
Krishna. So tomorrow
Hare.
is Govardhan Puja, and I'm going to try, but I don't know, because I will be also taking care of my sister's son
Okay.
tomorrow. So it may be too chaotic to be able to focus. So
Okay. Well, if you like, I can host the
yeah,
class. But
I'm also not
is it-
sure if Rohini Mataji is going to be joining, because she will also be busy at the temple. So
Okay. Well, we can see. If
yeah,
anyone
we'll
comes.
see if Ruchi Mataji comes, like then.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Prabhu. It's always wonderful to have your association.
Yeah, nice to have yours. Actually, there's a code. I don't know if you can figure this out, but there's a code that you can give someone that they can claim the host role in a Zoom meeting.
Prabhu, I'm going to look and I will send it to you.
Okay.
How that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a host code that you can give to someone, and they can.
Sure.
host.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.